We are very excited to be talking to Kai Wild. My name is Angela. I work at Onkaparinga Libraries, and with me I've got Eve.
Hello.
She's at Aldinga Library co-hosting down there, and we've of course got our guest of honour, Kai. Hi, Kai.
How's it going? Hey, nice to be here. Nice to talk to you.
Excellent. So when everyone in South Australia knows we've had a really bad year because we've had the virus, of course. Well, the whole world has, but we also had the really bad bushfires. And you were in Sydney at the time when the bushfires hit, and you decided to come over here and lend your support of to the people of Kangaroo Island, especially, and the animals and everything there. So can you tell me, I've just jumped right into it because I'm so excited to be here today. I forgot to say thank you to Simon and Schuster for letting us talk with you today. So big thank you to those guys. It's been great, and we did have to postpone it when we went into lockdown, but now we're up and running again, so it's been really good that we've been able to reschedule it this year. So thank you, Simon and Schuster, for allowing us this opportunity. It's been great. This book also, I have the book here. The libraries all have a copy, so you can put this book on hold at your local library. Eve has got a copy too. So you can put this on hold on the phone. You can come into the library because we are open, and you can do it online. But if you want to own a copy of this really amazing book, you can also purchase it from Dymocks at Glenelg. They have been wonderful in stocking all of the books that we have been, with all the authors we've been talking to, they've stocked all the books. So that's been really good as well. I'm sure lots of other bookstores have your book as well. So you could probably go to most places and get it. But we like to give special thanks to Dymocks at Glenelg. So as I was saying earlier, you were in Sydney at the time when you decided to come over to South Australia, and while you were here, you started documenting your journey on your social media page, and I'm sure it was a big shock to you when you started getting thousands of followers on your page. So I think it was over 10,000 followers on your page, which is quite staggering in such a short space of time that you were there for. And it says here you've also raised $65,000 for rescuing, which is outstanding. So what made you want to go to Kangaroo Island?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I guess throughout that entire bushfire season, I really found that helping just as a community volunteer or as a volunteer with the SES, that was kind of one of the few ways that felt like, it was just able to contribute or even like cope with all the disasters that were kind of unfolding around us. Because there'd be times where I'd just be working in Sydney, and you're just kind of dealing with all this smoke that's just everywhere, and just knowing what was kind of unfolding around us. So it was 3 weeks after those major fires affected Kangaroo Island, when I just got this message basically via Facebook saying someone had found a koala that was still up in a tree that had been affected by fire on Kangaroo Island, and that they needed the assistance of a tree climber. So I guess just finding out that help was needed, and the fact that I work for myself and have that flexibility meant that I could like make that split decision to head over. So very, very fortunate in that I had the ability to help really.
Yeah, it was, you touched on it before, but with South Australians too, there was this sense of helplessness. Everyone wanted to help in some way. So a lot of our libraries did some activities where we sewed pouches and we did all that, because there was just such a sense of everyone wanting to pull together, which it was fantastic to be part of that, even though it was very trying times and it wasn't a nice time for a lot of people. But there was definitely that sense of needing to do something.
And yeah, like that was kind of something that I had experienced myself, and then was really aware as well, I guess. And I think that really came into it with that social media, where it was very, I guess, I was honest about how much it was kind of impacting me emotionally as well. And even people being like, that was a kind of great source of support. The people who I'd never met, complete strangers, like were able to kind of, provide some kind of support or encouragement. And then, in terms of making donations, enabling me to just afford to be there, it was a huge thing as well. So
it's hard to believe when it's gone by, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. I think the further I get from that time, the more just surreal it kind of seems. And even, but then I think, people like Sam and Dana, and all those locals who are still there, obviously, still living that. So it's a very strange thing to kind of contemplate. And I think, getting back down there will be, just a really strange experience, I think.
It will, yes.
Yeah.
So when you got back, you decided to write your book. What prompted you to write the book?
Like I didn't plan to write a book. So I guess I got approached by a number of publishers during that time, and then kind of was like, wow, okay. And then just kind of saying, no, I've got to just like put that aside and focus on what I'm doing here and why I'm here, and not worry about books. And then, at the end, Ben Ball from Simon & Schuster got in touch, and it kind of just happened from there, I guess. I think it was really fortunate that it was Simon & Schuster, and that it was Ben Ball who was my editor, because I found like writing it was actually just like this really intense experience to relive, and it was quite traumatic and upsetting and confronting, and having that right editor who's supporting you through that creative process, and like, this is something that I haven't kind of embarked on before. So having that person who you can trust, who's guiding you, is so important. And I think it would have been like a really, if it hadn't have been Ben and Simon, it's just like it could have been like potentially like a not so great experience. So I'm very grateful.
So when I read your story, and even talking to you now, you come across as a very humble type of person. So there's a couple of questions here. Is like, how to stay level-headed with all of your followers? Like, because you've obviously got a big following now, but also at the time when you were in Kangaroo Island, how did you cope while you were there and afterwards with the emotional trauma of the koalas and just the people and the loss of, habitats, life, and how has that affected you longer term?
So I think on one hand, like, I'm not a big fan of this public stuff, but I think for people to care about wildlife and our natural environment and conservation, and like want to do something about climate change and all these things, like they need to be able to connect to it, I guess through people and through stories. And so I see the value in that and the importance of that. And I guess my mindset is just like, is that really like trying to remove myself in some kind of way, or just be aware that, yeah, like as soon as, I don't know, I think as soon as your ego gets involved, it's all over really. And like it needs to be like just to stay focused on this being about conservation of our wildlife for me, basically. Yes. So I don't know. Yeah. And what was your other question? Does that make sense to you?
I'll ask a different question. Did it surprise you how many followers that you got? Even today, like looking at who's logged on, and there's people from New York and Ireland and England. Does that surprise you that it's such a big interest?
I mean, I guess like yes and no. Like I guess it's because there's so many people from so many places around the world like care about Australia's natural environment and care about especially koalas, and so I guess I just see it as like people, it's people who care about koalas more than anything. That's so that doesn't surprise me.
In your book, you have some really amazing photos. So you obviously didn't take all the photos because you're in some of them. So how did you collect? How did you collect the photos for the book, and how did you choose which ones went in the book?
So it was really, I guess, fortunate that this incredible photographer, Daniel Berhulak, who's a New York Times photographer. He came down to KI he wasn't on assignment. He was just out of his own personal interests. And so therefore, like, he had ownership of all the photos, and he just came out with me for a day while I was going out to the plantations and finding koalas. So I mean, that was just really fortunate for sure. And then also David Maurice Smith was down for Smithsonian Magazine later on towards the end, and they also came out for a couple of days as well for that publication. So neither of those photographers or myself, it wasn't for this book, but it just, I think it would be a very, very, very different kind of look and feel to the book had they had not come down. So I was very fortunate, I think. Otherwise it would have just been my kind of shitty phone selfies, excuse me. And maybe that would have been all right, but I think it would have,
What do you think you like more books, or produce a calendar or other things for some of these gorgeous photos?
I mean, I just don't want to, I don't really like selling things, to be honest, excuse me. So I think it's great that people can borrow the book from a library. So probably not a calendar. I think, again, it's that thing, like, I do love writing. So, and if I guess it's just got to if it means something, or if it can affect change or progress in some way. But it's certainly, I guess, writing a book, it definitely opens that door in your mind to the very real possibility of writing more books.
That's excellent. Okay, I think we do have some questions I can see, so I'm going to hand over to Eve now. She'll ask you some questions from the audience.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of questions come through. I'm sure your publicist will be thrilled to know you don't like to sell things. Sorry, Angus.
Oh, Angus knows.
He's watching, I can see. First of all,
okay.
Congratulations on being longlisted for an Indie Book Award. That is pretty impressive. In that category, you're up with some big names, Bruce Pascoe. How amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's very humbling to.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
going to say, how do you feel?
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Very exciting. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
The first question is, how's Joey Kai doing? And maybe give us a little bit of a background on who Joey Kai is, if anybody doesn't know.
Yeah, for sure. So Joey Kai was the first kind of pretty badly burnt orphan Joey that I'd come across on Kangaroo Island within towards the end of the first week that I was there. And so yeah, when I rescued her, yeah, it was just a really intense experience where I thought she would just need to be euthanized straight away. And then I found out that she wouldn't, and that she was luckily she'd be okay. And she kind of just became this kind of source of hope and comfort for me for the rest of that time. And yeah, she's how she is she's okay. She ended up being rehabilitated by Sam and Dana for 6 or 7 months throughout that whole entire pandemic time. And I'd really hoped to get back down there for her release, but that wasn't a possibility. But maybe around, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 weeks ago, yeah, she was released. So yeah, she's good. She's wild. I don't know any more than that, but that's kind of all I need to know.
Yeah, that's such good news to hear.
I know.
Makes my heart happy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because there is always this worry that something's going to go wrong. Up until but it didn't.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And you were quite on your social media, quite open emotionally. A couple of people have asked, like, how hard was it to read the book when it's bringing back so many memories? Like, even I was reading it at my desk at work, and you just go straight back to that feeling of when the bushfires were on, and you felt like you could like tear up at any time. And I wasn't even directly involved; it was just the news and everything. How hard was it to put those words to paper?
Oh, it was actually really hard. And it was particularly hard to go back through all the photos as well, and just to relive everything on such a detailed level, kind of day by day, and analyze your decisions in that way too. It was just like, whoa, this is extra confronting. But I guess I appreciate that importance of documenting something, just so that we don't forget.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Our next question is from all the way from New York, actually. Erica wants to know, the same story. She's been following the journey and isn't an arborist, isn't a tree climber, wasn't in Australia to be able to help. But was just wondering that, aside from donations and writing to government officials, do you have any advice for people who are passionate from afar? What can they do to help the koalas or prevent bushfires in the future?
I mean, like I would probably say to people just to be able to, if you can focus on what's going on in your own location, really, and that's probably the most impactful thing you could do, I would suggest. Otherwise, like things like donations or any advocacy for governments to take climate action is really critical at this point.
Some sound advice.
Yeah.
Another question is, have you been working with koalas since the KI fires?
Yes. So I guess that was a big thing that for a lot of people who are involved, individuals and wildlife organizations, was that we need to learn as much as we can from this experience, and we need to be as prepared as we can for next time, because we know this isn't the new normal. We know this is it gets worse than this, and then this kind of event is going to happen again in the future. So yeah, there's a couple of things. Volunteering at Port Macquarie Koala Hospital, yeah, with a view to kind of establish, you know, just a good working relationship with those people, so you can kind of just hit the ground running. And that's been good too, just to be able to help kind of week to week with rescues, and then just kind of looking at teaming up with IFAW, which is International Fund for Animal Welfare in Australia. So to be available to assist their team, and yeah, they're, as well as Humane Society International Australia again as well. So yeah, there's a few things coming out of the bushfires.
Sounds like it's been non-stop.
Yeah, yeah. I guess yeah, it has been non-stop. Looking forward to having a little break over the summer.
Yeah, maybe a Christmas break.
yeah. Well, yeah, and I think the rain has been great up this way.
Just for anybody else who might have struggled through the bushfires or a similar trauma, Gary's asked, have you had any counselling after the rescues and with writing the book?
Yeah, so I started speaking to my counsellor, who had kind of, you know, already kind of had spoken to just because of other life stuff basically before KI, and then that was really interesting, just to kind of to have this really kind of acute experience, this traumatic experience, and just to have already had someone that I'd spoken to and kind of knew who I was and what kind of was in the realms of kind of normal. So to have that established, when I started speaking to her, when she actually had seen I think a Facebook post and reached out to me. But yeah, that was really significant, I guess. And yeah, so I continued speaking to her like a lot afterwards, after I got home, because getting home into the pandemic was really weird. Yeah, and yeah, so and still, yeah, speaking to her now.
Yeah, important to reach out for support when you need it.
Definitely.
We've got another question from Denise. What is it like to work with koalas? They all seem to have different personalities.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the kind of the best thing in the world to be able to work with koalas, in a way where you kind of wish you didn't, you know, well, yeah, like I wish I didn't. I wish no one had to work with koalas though. But yeah, like it is this really, yeah, incredibly special and kind of calming experience largely. Well, yeah, when you don't have to kind of handle them in trees and rescue them, but just to kind of rehabilitate them. Yeah, it's incredibly special.
Yeah, gorgeous. Somebody else wants to know, for the situation on KI now, are there enough trees to support the koala population? Is it recovering?
So yeah, the situation on KI was a strange one because, you know, the koalas weren't endemic to KI, and they were brought over by people as this backup population, to the fact that they've been so significantly kind of decimated as a population on the mainland. And then yeah, this population on KI kind of really blew out and ballooned to I guess, yeah, what people were saying was like an unsustainable kind of level. And so yeah, that's, I think the latest survey has said like they've gone from a population of 45,000 down to 8,500. And yeah, I just like they lost so much kind of native vegetation during the fires there that I'm really not sure what the situation is there, in terms of yeah, sustainability or of that population. But there's certainly that the koala population on KI is like a safe and stable amount still.
That's good to hear. And aside from koalas, Paul wanted to know, did you come across other animals that needed rescue and care while you're on KI?
I mean, there was a lot of them, and no, I didn't. I just was like full on koala mode basically, and specifically kind of just tree climbing as well. So kind of just very niche, narrow focus. Yeah.
We can't be all things.
No. But
I think that might be just about all the audience questions that we have, but I'm just going to read one last comment from Gary because it's so lovely.
Okay.
For the record, you've inspired me to help koalas in habitat, and I've adopted 5 so far and donate to a number of different charities since seeing your rescues.
Oh, wow.
A feel-good note to end on.
Yeah, good on you, Gary.
Yeah, good on you, Gary.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
All right, I'll pass it back to Angela to wrap us up.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Eve. That was very interesting and sad as well for all those koalas out there, but seems like they're getting back on track. There was, at the time I did hear there was a big problem with their bee population too, because there was some of the, a particular variety of bee was affected. So even though you only worked with the koalas, there was obviously lots of habitats that were under threat. But nature,
I mean,
nature is quite forgiving and does grow back quite quickly, doesn't it?
For sure. Like, yeah, the Kangaroo Island dunnart and the glossy black cockatoos, you know, really of as far as conservation goes, like those species are really like we're at a kind of critical point already prior to the bushfires, and so this has really pushed them to the brink. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's there's lots of, like you were focusing on the koalas and the trees, obviously that's your background, but there was lots of people involved in different aspects of the conservation and just rescuing and trying to give that sustainability element to what's there to make let it survive in the future.
Yeah.
Which is obviously going to be ongoing for a number of years. So there's always stuff people can be doing. And as you said earlier, that we're coming into our hot season again. Things happen all the time, and it's just nature. But it's good if people can get on board and support what they feel comfortable with. And try their best. That's all we can all do, like you did, coming all the way from Sydney, which was amazing in itself, because even in Sydney at the time there was quite a lot of bushfires as well happening quite all around Australia. So yes, it hopefully won't be as bad again, but we have to be prepared for every catastrophe these days, I suppose. Yeah, so thank you. It has been wonderful to chat with you today. And
thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it as well, as much as we did. And I hope our audience enjoyed it. They've asked lots of good questions and there's lots of good chat as well. So thank you very much once again for joining us today. Thank you to Simon and Shuster. Thank you, Eve. If you would like to follow us on our Facebook page to look out for more events, online and in person, please do so. Look on our website as well. Also, if you haven't followed Kai already, follow him because he needs more followers, lots more. And we will also send out a feedback form via email if you could all give us some feedback, and if there's anything you'd like to see, anything we'd like to see us do differently, let us know, and we will, because we're always looking to improve in what we do. So thank you. Have you got anything to add, Eve?
Nope, all good. The links to follow us and Kai are in the chat, so be sure to check them out.
Excellent. And this recording will be live on our website by the end of the week, I'm sure, or next week. So look out for that as well. if you want to revisit anything. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.